Hi everybody, welcome back to the Desmond Works channel, and we're back on with the ST2 build. So a little bit of a delay in getting this video out as it's been a pretty busy week for me. I'm one Ducati lighter now, so I've sold my Ducati 749 as I just try to clear out a bit more space for some upcoming projects. So where are we with the ST2? So since the last video, what I've done is I've just put the forward part of the loom into the front part of the fairing. So this effectively is the loom that goes from here round up, and then it will connect to all of the clocks. So I've purchased new lamps to go in all of the gauge indicators and illumination points. There was no repairs needed on this front part of the loom, which is quite good. So we've got the fuse box in, the relays are in, you've got the air pressure sensor that sits behind there, the air temperature sensor that sits up on the top there, and then a couple more relays. I got some got some new hose clamps. So I've done the last two hose clamps since we last spoke, and my little bit of bling turned up, which is a red anodized cover for the timing port. So not too bad at all. It's good to see some progress being made, isn't it? Okay, when we come back round to here, so what have we got at the moment? So I've got the bearings and the seals for both the front and the rear wheels. I've got the new Cush drives. Got a new exhaust clamp to put the exhausts together. Exhaust seals are here. So are the collars. Got new nuts for the sprockets to go on. There's all the lamps that will be going into the loom for the gauges and everything. Got some 90-degree tyre valves to go on the wheels, and new chain and sprocket set for the bike. I also cleaned up the O-lins last week just to get it ready to go off to be refurbished. And last but not least, it sat out in the sun just warming up because it makes them easier to fit. I've got some tyres for the bike. So these are Avon Storm 3Ds. Seems like a relatively nice tread pattern. I did a bit of research online and they seem to be pretty well thought of, so hopefully they'll be just the thing. Never had to buy touring tyres before. Yeah, so first things first, I'm going to get the tyres fitted to the wheels, and then that will hopefully protect the rims as I just start popping some of the bearings and everything in. So let's go ahead and get that done. Now usually there's a dot somewhere on the tyre wall to align with the valve. It's like usually the lightest point on the tyre, but there appears no mark on these Avons, so they must be relatively comfortable that it's a pretty good tyre out of the mould. So what we need to do is pop the tyre now. So just going to take out the valve and we'll get the compressor and whack some air in and pop the tyre. Tyre valve. Just show you how that tool works. It literally just captures it like that. Okay, so we're just going to pop the bead. Now just top the pressure up. one tyre on. So what I'm just going to do is just clean off the soap that I put round with just a bit of water. So there we have it, front tyre is fitted. What I should have pointed out is there's always a direction of rotation on your tyre, and there's always a direction of rotation on your wheel. Make sure they go in the same way. And another little bit of red anodized bling is my tyre valve. So let's get the rear wheel out and do the same for the rear. Rear tyre is on. It takes a lot more brute force than the front tyre because the the bead is much stronger, but I've got it on. Unfortunately, it did put a little scratch in the rim, which is a bit disappointing because the tool slipped. But hey ho, it is what it is, I suppose. A little shame. Right, what I need to do now is pop the bead again, so take the tyre valve out and do that. I'll do that off camera because I need to just get the gimbal just recharged up a little bit. So see you in a bit. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is fit in the Cush bearings, which is 6 of. So I've just got them in the freezer at the moment. So what I'm just going to do is just heat those up so that we can just expand the holes out a little bit, and then we can just tap them in. First one in, so just slightly below the surface. Job's a good one. Right, what I'm going to do, heat up another one and go for hitting another one in. Okay, that's all 6 Cush drive bushes installed. I have recessed this one and I'm just about to recess the others, so it's only just tapping it slightly in so that the sprocket carrier sits nice and flush with the flange. So I'm just going to do that. I'll do that off camera quickly. Okay, you'll see there's a little chamfer there. What I've tried to do is make the Cush drive just come level with that. And that's because there's a little lip at the very back end of the drive pin that mean it would sit slightly proud, so that's all sorted now. I'm not going to push that on because it will get stuck. So next piece to do is put the wheel bearing in, so just going to heat that hole up there. I'll just go and stick the wheel bearing in the freezer now, and we'll pop this side in first. Okay, so that's the rear wheel Cush drive rubbers in, or bushes, and then we've got the 2 rear wheel bearings in with the spacer tube in the centre. And what you'll notice is I was just trying to tap to make sure that that's not floating. The problem is if you hit on the sprocket side, it loosens off the brake side bearing, because that's how you get these out. You hit that bearing on that side and it makes this one loose, so you just got to make sure that that is definitely flush. But job's a good one, that's in. What I'm going to do now is just get the bearings out of the sprocket drive. So I've released, there's a circlip that goes in, so to do that I've taken off a circlip that goes here. I'm just going to mount this up on a bit of a block, and then we'll push those 2 bearings out. Okay, so that should just about give me enough clearance to get the bearings loose, and then I'll reposition these once, because I don't want to place the metal stands on either the very small flange or on the actual threaded portion of the drive pin. So let me just apply some gentle pressure and just get these out. Okay, that worked perfectly. So both bearings are out. Here you can see where we're going to reseat the two new ones in. So I'm just going to give this a clean up, and then we'll place it up on the press again, and I'll press these gently in. Right, one sprocket carrier fully built up, the spacer in, two bearings, circle it back in the front. I'll just put a little bit of grease on the drive pins and then fit them into the, and then I'm going to fit the carrier into the rear wheel. So that's the rear wheel almost built up. The only bit I've got left to do is the rear brake disc when I get a new one. So just to summarise what we've done, tyre valve went in, tyre went on, put the Cush drive bushes in, put the main wheel bearings and the spacer in, then on the sprocket carrier put two new bearings in, reintroduced the spacer piece, chucked it on, put the new rear sprocket on, and some old nuts that actually fit it correctly. Let's move that to one side and we will do the front wheel bearings. So pretty much the same as with the rear wheel. We'll heat up the bearing recess and then put the first bearing in, flip it over, put the spacer piece in, put the second bearing in, and then I've also got to refit the speedo drive on this side of the wheel. So let me go stick the bearings in the freezer first. Okay, front wheel bearing in, spacer tube, the speedo drive and its little retaining seal stroke washer assembly. So job's good and that one's done as well. Okay, so off camera I have just put the bike up onto a set of axle stands at the rear. I've loosely just put the shock in for now so that I could get the bike up. So it's off the engine stand now. I'm going to stick the front wheel in so that I can then put it back down on its front wheel. The aim is to get the rear stand in, the main stand, so that we can support the bike on the main stand as well, so that it's sort of on its own weight. So let me stick the front wheel in first. Okay, front wheel's loosely in just so that I can balance it all off. Don't worry about where the speedo's sitting at the moment. That's because with this type of paddock stand I can't get the speedo drive into the correct location because this support leg's in the way. Okay, next job is to fit the centre stand. So let me grab that and we'll get that in place. Okay, centre stand on the bike. These aren't probably the right bolts, but I've just stuck them in now so that I can work on it. So it means I can also then put it on the centre stand. It means I can get things like the exhaust and everything on now as well. Let's just drop it off of the front paddock stand carefully. Well, that's quite exciting. The bike is now sat on its own centre stand, which means I can get stands in and out and underneath the various bits as I need to do anything. But more importantly, it feels like I'm getting a little bit closer to completing it. So these were the brackets that were done in the wrong colour by the powder coater, but I think they actually work quite nicely because of the Audi grey on the covers and then the transition to the gloss black stands. So whilst I was a little bit annoyed about it, I'm not massively upset about it. As we've got the rear sprocket onto the wheel, let's put the front one onto the engine now. Front sprocket on with my lovely replated sprocket holder. Okay, now that the bike's up on the stand, what I'm going to do is fit the exhaust. Okay, so I'm going to put in the vertical pipe first. So we've got a gasket, 2 half bushes, and the collar that goes on for the pipe. Well, that's just resting there. Now I've got to push the bushes into the, just so they sit on the back of the part of the exhaust pipe flange, and then we'll pull in the collar and that will do them all up tight. So I've mounted the vertical pipe and now just putting in the horizontal one. So I've pushed it loosely on its flange in there, and I've not tightened that up, that's just loose at the moment. Then what we've got to do is put in again gasket, then the 2 half bushes behind the flange on the exhaust, and the collar to tighten it all up. So that just shows how it goes in. So push that up. Okay, so we just need to make sure the exhaust pipe is in the right place. Then I'll tighten everything down. Okay, so exhaust is on. Going from the horizontal, comes up just behind the engine. This is the outlets that go to the silencers on the right side and the left side. I've got a Magnet Core clip that's tightened up the joint there, and then comes up to the vertical pipe where we are tightened onto the vertical head. So exhaust is now on. Okay, while I've got this side of the bike exposed, I'm going to be sticking the side stand on now. Alright, side stand bolts done up to 43 Newton meters with a bit of blue Loctite in them. I haven't got the spring and everything on here yet. Just easier to do that when it's on the bike. Okay, I've just stuck on the battery box, which is just 3 8mm headed 6mm bolts. That means I can now fit the starter lead and starter solenoid that all just hangs off of here. I'm going to put the footrest hangers all on apart from the one that will have the gear linkage on it, because I need to clean it a little bit better. Plus, if I leave it off, it just reminds me that I still have not got this seal in here yet. So it's just M8 bolts, 24 Newton meters with a bit of medium strength lock thread on it. Okay, let's whack those in. This one had the accessory bracket that goes on it, so I've just reconnected the lead back up to that was left loose. Okay, let's go around the other side and do the other 2 sets. Okay, so passenger ones are fitted. The reason I took this one back off is I just suddenly realised I need access to get the shock back out so I can take that for the servicing. Plus, I still need to route the brake line as well, so it was probably easier just to leave that off. Hindsight's the best kind of foresight once you don't do those pieces of work. Okay. Sorry, I just fitted in the battery earlier just to see if this aftermarket one actually fitted, and it does. So I'm not going to need a new battery at the moment. I will get some foam just to stick down the sides to stop the battery moving. Shouldn't move forward and backwards because it's got these little tongs on the battery holder, but I'm just going to make sure that it can't do it. Going to fit the luggage rails. So that was the one that I hand painted, got rid of most of the corrosion. It's not come up too bad actually. I'm pretty chuffed with that. So they go on like so and mount up in here. So let me just play a precarious balancing game and try and get these in. Okay, it was a bit of a playing game, so I've had to re-loosen these off. So what I'm going to have to do in turn is take each bolt out and put thread lock on it, then do it back up correctly. So it's all 24 Newton meters. It's just the hassle of getting everything into the right position, but I think I'm just about there. So I'll have to run the cable in a second for the indicators, but let's get these bolts thread locked and tightened up. Okay, so sorry, I just noticed the camera was spinning slightly, very slowly on its own, so every time I turned around it looked like you guys were looking away. So 24 Newton meters, 24 Newton meters, 24 Newton meters, 24 Newton meters, 24 Newton meters. That is now secure. What I'll do in a second is I will run this lead through there and connect up to the indicator circuit. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do the other side off camera because the lighting quality is really crap around the other side, so let me just do that. Okay, going to now fit the starter solenoid, which logs onto there. There's a little clip holding it in place. Clips in on the back and then just connect to the starter. Starter circuit now put in, so got the lead goes down to the starter, comes in behind the battery panel into the starter solenoid, and then the lead up to the battery, and then you've got the connection for the starting signal that goes into the solenoid to energize it. Okay, I've also got the new filter turned up, so let's just stick the fresh filter in. Okay, so new air filter fitted. Clutch has been ordered and is on its way, so I just need to get some clutch plates ready to go in there. As you saw earlier, I had the battery test fitted in there. That's just down there, just getting a boost charge at the moment. I haven't got the vertical HT lead fitted because I've got this aftermarket NGK piece on there that doesn't fit the plugs, the standard plugs. Now I hadn't noticed that when I was stripping it apart, and I just took both the plugs out and threw them away because I wasn't going to be needing them anymore. So he must have had a non-standard plug in here previously. I've got a set of leads coming, so that will be resolved. I think that's where I'm going to leave it for now because we've got plenty of work done. There's a few little odds and sods that I need to turn up just to be able to progress the last few bits and pieces on the bike. So that's it for me on this video. The bike is up on its own stand, wearing a pair of shoes, and is starting to look more and more like a motorcycle. We're into the niggly little jobs almost, so brakes a big job, still got to get the discs to be able to put on, still got to get the chain on and everything like that, but we're getting closer and closer to being able to finish the bike. There is going to be a big delay to finishing the bike though, and that is that I'm going to be painting the fairings myself. So I'm just talking to a paint shop at the moment about renting their booth out. Been many years since I've painted fairings. I used to do all of my own painting on a lot of my race bikes, but they give a technician there to give guidance on that. So I thought it'd be kind of nice to do it myself, and then I can just blame myself if it goes wrong. But I'll probably make a video about that. I've got a friend that's going to be coming along because we're going to be doing a whole load of race fairings at the same time as well. So we're hoping to get a whole day in a proper booth where we can use the oven to bake everything off. Hopefully that'll make for quite a good video to watch as well. So if you enjoyed today's video, please chuck us a like. It helps the algorithm. Any questions or comments, stick them down below and I'll get back and answer them as quickly as possible. And if you're not subscribed to the channel, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell for more content to come. Okay, thanks for watching. See you soon. Bye.